Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey buddy, how's it going? Let me just put another light on. Oh,
Now I might have to use this big ass headset.
The city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
We had a hurricane blow through here. I didn't get really affected that badly, but for 24 hours, feels like the top of the house is going to blow up. And I've got a large dog,
Oh,
and I had to take him out.
oh
And
yeah.
we're getting fucking blown all over the place. There's hunks of trees flying by. I'm like, why did I get a fucking dog? But at the end of the day, I love him.
Yeah. What's the breed?
Oh,
What
Irish
did I see?
Wolfhound.
Those are big, right?
Fuck yeah! It's like think of a greyhound, not a greyhound. Think of a Great Dane with hair.
I have a 5-pound Pomeranian,
Oh,
tiny
you're
little.
lucky.
Yeah,
Thing will crap in 5 minutes, and I
tiny
gotta
little pellets, like hamster.
Yeah, no. I gotta take 3 fucking bags with him in the morning.
Whoa. Yeah. Holy crap. Those are human shits coming out of that
Bigger.
dog.
Oh, bigger.
Cool. So you're in Florida now. I saw some. Well, you know what? Let's introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, because I just started talking, like just engaging and shit, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's introduce who this man is.
Thank you. Angel. Thank you for having me on your show. My name is Vic Ferrari. I'm a Bronx kid, born and raised in New York City. Lived in New York for most of my life. When I was a little boy, I always wanted to become a member of the New York City Police Department. By 5, my mother used to take me by the police station, and I'd look in the police car windows and see the equipment, and I'd look at the cops with their nightsticks and guns, and I said, you know what? Maybe one day I'm going to be able to do that. By 10, I used to go into the local post office with my friends, and we would steal wanted posters, the FBI wanted posters of like bank robbers and shit, and be walking around the neighborhood with a piece of paper with a wanted poster for some guy wanted for a bank robbery in Arkansas, and we're in the local deli, like that could be him. So I always knew what I wanted to do. By 21, I took the police exam, I passed, and I had a 20-year career with the New York City Police Department, and I worked in various units, including narcotics, DUI. My last 10 years, I was a detective in the auto crime division, so anything with chop shops, exporting of stolen cars out of the country, garden variety car thieves, identity theft, body shops, did all that stuff. And after I retired, I got into writing, and I've written 4 books about the New York City Police Department and my experiences.
All right. Now, but you have many more books, right? Because I checked out your Amazon, and there was a whole bunch of.
I do. I have 6 books, but 4 of which are about New York City, and
Right.
it's a humorous. They're humorous short stories about my time at the New York City Police Department.
What's the process like for you? Like when you're
okay. So my books, there's no beginning, middle, end. If I had to sit there and write a book in chronological order, I'm not that talented. So for me, what I do is the process is I'll think of a topic, and I'll put something like funny things that happen during arrests, or behind what goes on inside a police station, or the practical jokes that cops pull on each other. And that's a chapter. And then what I'll do is I'll start outlining short stories until I have enough, and then I grow them. And then if I come across writer's block, which happens all the time, I move on to another chapter or just start writing about something else. And then I'll see something, or someone will remind me of something, and I go back. Once I hit about 60,000 words, which is usually about 225 pages, then I start editing it myself. You want to give for new authors out there, you want to you need an author, you need an editor. You have to. You need a professional edit, but you don't want to give them a bag of crap, because it's not going to come out right. You've got to edit it the best you can. Then you send it away for a copy edit. They'll send it back with changes, and you're reading your story again, and they made changes to it, and you accept those changes or you deny them. Once that's done, you send it back to another editor. That's a copy edit. That's kind of, they just go through it with a fine tooth comb for grammar. Once that's done, then you send it off to be formatted. So you've got your book written, great. But now, 99% of authors, we go through Amazon, because Amazon's the biggest cat in the jungle as far as, for books. they're basically putting brick and mortar stores. That's a thing of the past, really, except for like Barnes and Noble. You got to get your books on Amazon. So there's a company I use called Ebook Launch. They're kind of like an a la carte service. So once my book is written and edited, I send it to them and I pay for 2 files. One file is for ebook, one file is for paperback, and that costs about $300. And they send back 2 files, and then you upload each into the Amazon platform. And now when someone clicks on your book and they want to order it, somewhere in Louisville, I think it's in Louisville, Kentucky, Amazon prints your book and mails it out to them. So I don't touch books.
Right.
I write them, I send them to Amazon, and then Amazon prints on demand. Same goes for a book cover. The same company. It cost me about $500 for a book cover. They ask, for argument's sake, my book, NYPD Law and Disorder. There's a picture of a cop scratching his head with a crashed police car and a bad guy running out in handcuffs. Now that really happened. So what I did was I told him, I says, I want the New York City skyline. I want a crashed police car. I want a cop scratching his head like, what the fuck just happened? I want the back door of the radio car open, and I want a perp in handcuffs running down the street. We could do that. And I mean, within a week, they designed the book cover for me.
Oh, very cool. But it sounds like a daunting process.
The whole thing, from the minute I say, you know what, I'm going to write a book,
Okay.
until I hit enter, that it's all done, cover's done, edited. It takes me about a year.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems faster than I thought. I mean, in my head,
You just got to keep at it. Even on days where you're not in the mood to write and you've been busy the whole day, before you go to sleep, give it 20 minutes and or at least look at one of your stories and comb through and go, I could have done that better. I spotted a spelling mistake. It's one of those things. If you just keep on it, it's like a marathon, really. Just keep on it. There's days where you got 4 hours and I'm going to write for 4 hours. Great. Also for new writers out there, and keep a couple of notepads. Keep one by your nightstand. Keep one where you spend most of your time in the house during the day. If you drive, keep a notepad in your car. You're going to see something that's going to remind you of something. Someone's going to say something that's funny, and you're like, I can work with this.
If you don't jot it down then and there, you'll lose it. That has happened
Absolutely.
to me.
What I struggle with is when I write on about the author, the back of my book cover, I struggle with that all the time. I just do. And I was getting a massage, and this woman was giving me a massage. This is like 2 years ago. She's giving me a massage, and she goes, my God, you have the hamstrings of a 20-year-old. I went, I can use that. That's gold. So I put that as about the author. Vic Ferrari is probably one of the funniest authors you never heard about, and has the hamstrings of a 20-year-old. So is that one liner I heard that I said I can use?
So that's where that came from. I thought you were like really good at stretching or something that prompted that.
No, just the massage therapist said it, and I was like, that's fucking gold.
So you did 20 years. So you, in essence, don't have to work at this point, right? I mean, you could, but you could survive.
Right? Listen, I got a civil service pension. I have bills like everybody else. I write for 2 reasons. One, it keeps my mind sharp.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It does. I mean, I'm in my mid-50s now. I want to keep what I have left. Also, unless you become Stephen King or James Patterson, one of these authors where publishing houses are giving you large advances to write a book, you're not going to make it rich as a self-published author. But if you put in the time with it and you start cranking out books and you promote them right, like what we're doing right here, people like yourself that are nice enough to put me on their forums, you can make a steady stream of income. You can make a couple of $100 a month, if not more. But it's like anything else. Anything else in life, if you do it half-assed, right, it's not going to pay off. You got to be all in.
Right. What's it like being a cop in the sense of just walking the street? Like, I would be scared to be a cop. I think I'm too paranoid. I think I have too much trauma from growing up in the street, and that I might be one of those people that could potentially get a chip on my shoulder with that type of power,
I get what I get what you're saying. So I grew up in the Bronx, right? I noticed this with a lot of the guys that got hired that came from Long Island or upstate New York. A lot of them were really good cops, but there was a certain percentage of them, they didn't get it as far as the Bronx worked or Brooklyn worked, because they came from a totally different culture, and then they're asked
Right. Police this.
to do something else. And it's like, it would be like dropping me off in Spain or Portugal and asking me to be a police officer there. I don't know the customs. I don't know that people eat dinner at 10 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? There's just different, there's so many different nuances, but I was lucky enough, and I'm proud of it. I was born and raised in the Bronx. You're right. The second you put on a police uniform, and especially as a rookie cop, picture being a rookie cop in New York City is like being a rookie quarterback in an NFL team, and they march you out on week one. And you can't read the defenses. Things are coming at you very quickly, and you just don't understand, like, what the fuck is happening. First off, you don't know really how to do the paperwork. You know what I mean? And what they teach you in the police academy a lot of times is the correct answer, but that's not the way the street works. You know what I mean? So it's coming at you fast and furious, and it's overwhelming, especially when they drop you off in a foot post in a busy neighborhood. People are coming up to you asking you questions. I'm not even talking about people looking to fuck with you. I'm just talking about people that need help.
Where's
and
the
you're standing there
McDonald's? It's like,
yeah,
I'm not from here.
right. You're standing there with your thumb up your ass, like, you know what? Let me call the sergeant. And after a while, the sergeant gets pissed off at you. He's like, do I have to hold your fucking hand on every call? So, but after a while, it slows down, and it doesn't bother you to wear a uniform. Now, 15 out of my 20 years, I was in plain clothes, be it I was in narcotics or auto crime. But the NYPD always throws you in uniform for New Year's Eve, the St. Patrick's Day parade, the Thanksgiving Day parade, when there's a riot, large crowd, when large companies go on strike. So you were never that far removed from wearing the uniform. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go through a whole year without having to wear a uniform. It's still going to get you.
Did you not feel noticed when you were in civilian clothing? Like we knew, you know, like, you knew people knew. So like I see, I'm like, that's 5-0. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, it's the cars. So there's a lot of things with that. A, it's the cars, right? B, you got a lot of young guys. The first thing they do, well, in my time, not anymore, but in my time, the first thing they would do is go out and buy that army jacket, the army field jacket, right? Well, you know, they got the chain around their neck as opposed to using something else to hold their shield around their neck. You know, here's another thing. So at 11 o'clock at night, the average person, if they're at 11 o'clock at night and they pull up to a traffic light, and a car full of gangbangers pulls up alongside them and they're blasting the music and fucking around in the car, the average person is going to glance and go, oh shit. And they're going to look straight ahead. And they're going to say, please, light, I want this light to change. Please, I hope they don't fuck with me, blah, blah, blah. Even if they're not bothering them, it's in their head now. I don't want to get fucked with. Cops carry guns and aren't afraid of that. So what do cops do? They look over and make eye contact. So we used to call that the hairy eyeball. The hairy eyeball is, you spot somebody, they spot you, you make eye contact, you don't look away. They say to themselves, well, they're probably cops. You know what I mean? So that's what you mean. Yeah, they're probably 5-0. So yeah, they used to go on all the time.
Yeah. Like, it's funny because I remember seeing cops trying to like not appear like they're cops, but you knew. You know what I mean?
What precinct did you grow up in?
I was in 167th Street. There was
where?
167 between Walton and Grand Concourse.
Oh, you're in the 4-4, so you were in the belly of the beast. So
there was a precinct right down the block that came relatively later after I'd been there. So I'd lived there for a few years, and then there was a precinct right there, right in Jerome.
Yeah, so your precinct originally was right on the Major Deegan Expressway. The precinct was right off the highway on Sedgwick Avenue. And then probably about 94, 95, they built the new 4-4, like you said, right off of Jerome Avenue. Yeah, or is it Girard? I get it confused.
No, it was, well, I mean, the big road where the 4 train runs was the Jerome. That's Jerome. And it might have intersected with Girard, or, you know, because it was relatively close to that area as well. You know, I got slammed a couple times in that area by cops because they thought that I was fucking with their cars, you know? So like I
Well,
was
that does
just
happen a lot. Not to say you did it, but you know what I mean.
yeah. You know, I was just walking through, and I remember one time this he said, come here, boy. And I was just hey man, I'm cool. He's like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm walking down to
Right.
167, you know. And my man's like, no, you got tools? I'm like, and granted, I had really baggy pants, so I'm like, it's the 90s, man. It's what we
I
wore.
know, I
I had
know.
a vest on with a bunch of pockets. Again, it was the style in the 90s. So he's like, come here, and he threw me against the wall, or rather a vehicle, and he's like, you want me to check you out here? You want me to check you inside? You want to go inside? I'm like, hey man, I'm cool. I'm cooperating. What do you want? And he's checking, and then he's like, hey, get the fuck out of here. Like, you know, and that happened a few times just walking by. Um,
They probably had a bunch of cars broken into, so anybody walking by, they got raised up. Your precinct was densely populated, and your precinct had a shitload of chop shops and
oh,
body shops that were doing tag jobs. So stolen cars would go in and they would change the vehicle identification numbers. What was that street? When I
who
was
would
in
be
auto,
stupid enough to go to a fucking precinct and try to fuck with their cars? Like
oh, yeah.
that was like my initial thought was like is someone stupid enough to do that? You know what I mean? Like,
When I was a rookie cop, I worked in the 4-2, which is off of 3rd Avenue and like 158th, 59th Street. And this is like 86, 87. This is like in the height of crack. And I remember, like, as a rookie cop, sometimes they would give you, you were a rookie, and they'd say, you got station house security. And I'd say, well, what does that mean? And they go, just walk around the precinct and make sure nobody fucks with the cars. I kid you not. I would go on the second floor of the precinct and I would open the window in uniform and I would just sit like this. Within an hour, I would catch somebody either breaking into one of our cars or one of the vouchered cars, like the evidence cars that we would park along, because the parking lot would fill up. So
yeah.
we would park like the stolen cars or the abandoned cars or evidence cars along 3rd Avenue. And I would just hang out on the window, and you'd watch somebody go right up and pop the fucking window or stick a screwdriver in the door and work the lock. I'd come running out, and by the time I got down there, their ass would be hanging outside the fucking car. So
Oh my God.
it did. I made,
Wow.
as a rookie cop, I must have made 10, 15 arrests right in front of the station house with that shit.
Wow. That was nuts. You just reminded me of something we were talking about earlier, to jot ideas down. Crack. Yesterday we were walking, coming back from Comic-Con, crack snorting, and we saw somebody. It might have been cocaine. I don't think crack is a thing anymore. I don't know if it's still out there, but cocaine snorting on chair. We saw a guy and a woman, and they were chilling. This was yesterday, after Comic-Con. So I want to write this down because I don't want to
Yeah.
forget it. This is a
No, I
blog
know,
idea.
man.
I don't want to lose this. We were walking, and my boy he goes like, "Yo, check it out." And I look over, and they're on the chair like, and then they had syringes next to them. And we're like,
Oh,
New
man.
York's been. I don't know how long you've been away for, but it's been getting crazy over here. You know, it's
Yeah,
starting to
I
feel
see
like
it.
the 80s. You know,
I
like,
see it on TV, and it kills me because, New York deserves better. It just does. There's so many fucking hardworking people in the 5 boroughs, and it's just they're letting it go to shit. It affects everybody. You know what I mean? It's like now, you can't just walk out of your house. Now you got to walk out of your house and look over both shoulders to make sure
yeah,
someone's not going to crack you. Someone that
yeah.
just got let out of a mental hospital isn't going to hit you in the head
My
with a
wife
fucking
got
firearm.
attacked in front of our building. She was assaulted. Thankfully, she wasn't badly injured, but she was bruised up and shaken. You know, and now she started training jujitsu with me. you
Good.
know, she started training jujitsu. It's been getting. My son was
Excellent.
assaulted on the train too. He got just popped, kind of blindsided, and he's grown up different than I grew up, right? So he doesn't know
Right.
what the protocol is, like how to handle, like he didn't know what to do. So, it's like it's crazy. And I voted for Eric Adams. I don't want to make it political, but I voted for Eric Adams because he was a cop, and it was my belief that he can strike a balance. Because I'm a registered Democrat, right? And believe me, I know the problems with the party. I know and I thought to myself, okay, you know what? Maybe Eric Adams, as a black male from the hood, New York
Right.
City, who happens to also have been a cop, maybe he could strike a balance where, he
I don't
might.
think he's the guy. I don't. I think the police commissioner he picked, I think she's good. I like her from everything I've read about her, and I've seen her in press conferences, and I think she's good. But I think I don't think Adams is going to be the guy to turn things around.
Well, it's apparently that's what it
I got to
seems like.
watch him. You got to realize something. He was hired around the same time I was, either a year before or a year after.
Okay.
And he basically he had a 20-year career of knocking the police department in the newspaper. If you go and Google him, I mean, everything with him was racism in the department, and he made a career as like a rebel rouser in the NYPD. And it's like, I think after a while, when you do that, he got to where he is. I'll give him credit. I mean, listen, it's an admirable accomplishment to run for mayor of city of New York and win. It just is, whoever you are. You know what I mean? I mean, you know the way the city works. It's not, they're not going to make it easy for you, whoever you are.
Right.
So, I mean, that's impressive. I just don't think he's the man for the job. I don't. I think he's so wrapped up into his agenda and everything else. I don't think that he's got, at the end of the day, I don't think he's got the fortitude to set New York back the way it should be.
Yeah, I've been fairly disappointed. I really had, I had some hopes there.
Oh, me too.
I really was, like, all right, you know what, this is a dude who comes from where I come from, so maybe he'll relate to people from the ghetto who are poor, and so I was like, that's a good thing. But he was also a cop, so he'll be able to relate to the officers, and maybe we could strike a balance and get things right. And I just don't see it.
Yeah,
I don't see
what's
it.
another problem with that? And this is both parties. Again, like you said, I don't want to make this political meaning. This is both parties. Once these people get into office, it's more about now pleasing their donors than their voters. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
So
They completely.
He's going to these $5,000 plate dinners. Do you think anybody on your block that's got a complaint goes to that dinner? Right.
No.
So, and that's both parties. I mean, Republican, Independent, it's the same shit. It becomes rubbing elbow, and he's in New York, so he's going to these things, rubbing elbows with celebrities. And the film industry in New York, all these companies make movies there, so he's going to these events and rubbing elbows and doing favors, So it becomes the donors, not the voters.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and this is the I believe in politics altogether is the issue, right? I have to register as a Democrat because I want my vote in New York City to count, right? When I was independent, I couldn't vote in the primaries, so
I
had to, if I wanted from the list of Democrats, if I want to be able to pick one of those in the primaries, I have to be registered as a Democrat. And from the list, I felt like a lot of them were extreme, really, really extreme left, to the point where like they're completely trying to get rid of the NYPD. And I'm like, come on, guys, I don't trust us people enough to not have a police department. I'm sorry, I don't trust.
New York doesn't allow anybody really to have a pistol permit, right?
Yeah.
So, and say for argument's sake, you're just John Q. Citizen, and you've never been in trouble before in your life, but you've been robbed 15 times. So you start carrying a gun, and you get caught. You're going to get put on probation, first offense. If you have no record, you're getting probation. You get caught again, you're going upstate for 1.5 to 3 years. And if there's no police, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters? you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a scary prospect. I would be terrified to have to defend myself here, because of the way the law is.
Because you got something to lose.
Yeah, I would be extremely terrified to ever in any way, shape, or form with a weapon, with my hands, to have to defend myself and injure someone or even.
Because you have something to lose and you were raised right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you live in a nice place, you got some money saved, you have children. Do you really want to like pop someone's eye out with a jujitsu move that's trying to take your wallet, and then they're fucking looking to give you time?
Man, that's a scare. When I talked to the officers, when my wife was attacked, they said it's a good thing you didn't find him, because if you found him, because she didn't have her phone, so she ran upstairs to tell me, and then I ran downstairs, And she said, if you would have, the officer told me, if you would have found him and you assault him, we have to arrest you as well, because there was no longer a threat. Your wife was already away from the threat, and you went looking for him. What you
Right.
got to do is call us. And I was like, yeah, that's what we did. We called you guys, and this guy was never caught, never found him, nothing. So you're also telling me that I can't do nothing about it, so it's New York is
If you hang
wild.
around, I mean, if you hang around after it depends on A, how bad you hurt him, and B, do you hang around? You know what I mean? But nowadays with cameras and shit, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They'll figure out who you are. It's like, oh yeah,
I
that's
live here,
he lives in
you know.
apartment 4B.
Yeah.
Now you're
Yeah.
fucked. I'll tell you a quick story from one of my books. This is early 90s, crack. And this girl, she worked at a club. She was beautiful. She goes downstairs. Her boyfriend's waiting for her in the car downstairs. She comes out of her building on Broadway and doesn't see her boyfriend's car. Guy walks up to her, high on angel dust, right?
Mm.
Takes her bag and punches her in the face. She goes down, and she goes to get up. He hits her again, like fucked her up, gave her 2 black eyes, right? Very pretty girl.
Oh.
She runs around the corner to her boyfriend, who's double parked in the car waiting for her. He takes the club. Remember the club?
Yes, yeah.
Death
Oh,
device.
yeah.
He
Oh, yeah.
confronts the guy, and apparently the guy picked up his hands, and he used the club.
Sometimes you got to club a motherfucker.
He arrested the guy for fucking robbery because he had her bag. He's still walking around with her bag in his hand. You know what I mean? But yeah, shit like that used to go on all the time. We didn't lock up the boyfriend. I mean, he was defending her, and the guy picked up his hand. So what's he supposed to do? The other guy was bigger than him. Was he supposed to take a punch in the face too?
Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe the time is different now, right? Also, there's a lot of things that are a little different. There's optics, and I have to believe that this guy was mentally ill. So, then the questions come into play into like, well, you knew the guy was mentally ill, or you had to have known it, or like the optics of it become a problem. So it's like, so what are we supposed to do as regular citizens who just want to look? I just want to go to work, go to the gym, my family, to survive and be left alone. So it's a scary place. It's a scary time to, I saw those dudes doing snorting, and I grew up in the hood, man. My pops was a heroin addict. You know what I mean? Like I just kept walking. I didn't even, to me, it doesn't faze me. I'm like, oh, shit, enjoy yourselves.
As long as they're not fucking with me or
Yeah,
breaking into my car.
Yeah,
Right.
you're not here trying to take our lives to get high. Then, it's, I don't know. I don't know what we need to do here. I mean, Sliwa would have never won because he's too extreme.
He talks a lot. I don't know how extreme he is. He's got, he's entertaining.
Agreed.
He's entertaining, but how much of what he says is bullshit or not? I mean, I find him like, I couldn't stand him because you got to remember, I'm older than you, right? How old are you?
45.
Yeah, I'm 11 years older than you. So even before I was hired as a member of the New York City Police Department, he pulled a hoax. He said that he was kidnapped by NYPD members that didn't want him to have the guardian angels. Like, cops don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I never had a problem with the guardian angels. Listen, if you get a bunch of guys that want to ride the train and fucking stop people from committing crimes, your average cop doesn't care. Really, we don't. But he said that he was kidnapped by these cops, and they took him out to Orchard Beach and threatened him and everything. And then it came out he didn't do it. I mean, it never happened. So he's going to have to, but I mean, I've kind of warmed up to him. Yeah. I mean, I think he's harmless. He's entertaining. Like I said, I get a kick out of him. I never hated the guy, but you're right. He's kind of become a caricature of himself. So he kind of, people like, do we take this?
He would never have made it. And that's not to say that he might have done a good job. I think he could have potentially done a good job. I don't know, right? Maybe that's what you need. The problem is that the way the politics work in New York, the way he talks, and it would just never happen. He would have to dial it down.
No, maybe 20 years ago. See, that's how Giuliani got in. Like you said, most New Yorkers, including my parents, were registered Democrats, but New York got so out of control from the 80s into the 90s. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and that's how Giuliani got in. Think about that. I mean, Giuliani, I mean, was as right wing as you know. I mean, former federal prosecutor, Southern District, put the mob away, and New Yorkers said enough. Like you said, I don't know what's enough to turn the tide. When enough working people have had it and said, you know what, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and it keeps biting us in the ass. Let's try Plan B. Let's just see what happens once. Let's give this 4 years and see if this guy can change things.
Yeah, and I don't know when it happens. I don't know if it can happen. I don't know. You know, everything feels different. You know, I was a kid in the 80s, right? So even the 90s when Giuliani came along, I remember it, but I was a kid, so I wasn't involved with politics. I didn't know anything about, you know, there were just words to me.
You're just
you know,
living your life growing up.
but I do remember things changing. All of a sudden, the gang members were hiding their beads. You know, the colors weren't as obvious. The things were changed. I saw that. I don't know what happened. I don't know if 45-year-old me would agree with the policies that were implemented then. You know what I mean? To achieve that.
Sure.
I don't know. I really don't know enough about it. But as a kid in the street, I felt it. I felt the difference. And I honestly, I don't know. You know, like, I don't know where we go from here. I thought Adams might be our guy, and you know, apparently I was wrong because things
He's had a year already, and has it changed in a year?
No, it actually feels like things are getting worse. You know, like, you know, it feels like things are getting.
Let me ask you a question, because you're in New York. You're a New Yorker still, and you're there. You watch the news. You got your ear to the ground. Do you think that guy Zeldin's got any chance of defeating the Cuomo's replacement, Hochul, whatever her name is?
I honestly, I've come across the name, but at that level, I don't even pay it much mind. So I can't answer that with a honest, intelligent.
You're a New Yorker.
Let me look at his name and see if it jocks something in my head.
Well, he's running for governor, like, because Cuomo got asked to step down for the sexual harassment.
Yeah, when she took over for him, I kind of thought that by default she's just gonna keep winning, so I didn't even bother. You know, like, I didn't even.
No, they're running in November next month.
Yeah, I didn't even think that anybody would be a threat. That's what I mean. That anybody.
He's a threat. That's why I'm curious. Like, what do you thought about?
I remember Lee, candidate for governor of New York, Army Reserve, a Republican. Well, you know what? It could. I looked them up. I remember I kind of glanced around and tried to get a feel for the guy. But I saw Republican and she's incumbent, and I immediately just said, it ain't gonna happen.
Well, upstate, you know how that works. Upstate's gonna vote for him.
Of course.
Most of upstate New York, and then it boils down to the 9 or 10 million people in the 5 boroughs. That's basically, and there's more people in the 5 boroughs than there is New York.
If they get out to
big New York is.
Yeah. If they get out to vote, then I kind of just wrote them off. But who knows, you know? But I feel like at the end of the day, the mayor has a more of a grip and influence, you know, so like at that higher level,
You're right. The mayor of the city of New York's got a lot of power over the whole state, believe it or not. You're right about that.
Yeah, I don't feel their influence as much. So like, even when Cuomo was out and she came aboard, and I as just the average person living here, I don't feel anything from it, you know.
You're in the cocoon in New York City, right?
Yeah, you know, like, I don't feel, you know, even if you get like right now, I think the Supreme Court said that we could carry conceal in New York, right? That it was unconstitutional, on the city level, like, I don't think I can get a permit to carry. I've been thinking about it.
And you've got to go through the New York City Police Department to do it. And New York's got the pistol license division, and they don't make it easy for anybody. And that's not coming from the New York City Police Department. That's coming from, once again, the mayor's office.
Correct. Like, I have a home permit, so I have you know.
So you're good to go if someone breaks into your house, right?
But I would never want to. be in that
No,
situation
who wants
ever,
that?
ever, ever,
Who
ever
wants
in
to get
this
involved
city.
in a
You
shooting?
know,
Oh,
you
cops
know.
don't like, you know what I love when they talk about like, cops are shooting people. Cops are more afraid of getting in trouble
Mm,
than getting hurt or getting killed. That's a fact. I never really worried about getting killed in my NYPD. I was more afraid of getting in trouble because let me tell you how it works with a shooting. Let's say, for argument's sake, me and you are radio car partners, and we're doing a 7 in the morning till 3 at night. So we're doing the morning shift.
mm,
And say at 8 o'clock in the morning, a guy comes at us with a knife or a gun or bank robber. It's like, I'm talking best case scenario shooting,
mm,
right? And we kill this fucking guy, right? Say he was shooting at us and million witnesses and okay. First, you're going to get interviewed by the sergeant on the scene. Then you're going to get interviewed by a captain. Then they're going to drag you into the precinct. The detectives are going to interview you. Then the borough, the commanding officer of the borough is going to talk to you. Then there's people from downtown that's going to talk to you. Internal affairs is going to come down and investigate it. Then the district attorney is going to show up with a stenographer and take your statement. So anything you say, right there's a stenographer tank. If you and I got involved in a shooting at 8 o'clock in the morning, we wouldn't go home till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They investigate. It's not like TV where me and you are going to go to the bar and get a couple of beers or I'll see you tomorrow. No, time is suspended. And anybody that thinks that, cops are getting involved in shooting and it's no big deal. First of all, you got to live with that for the rest of your life if you take someone's life. Second of all, after the shooting, within a week or two, me and you are going to have to go, say we got involved in a shooting in Brooklyn. We're going to get dragged down to a Brooklyn grand jury, and we're going to have to testify in front of a grand jury, which is 16 to 23 people that are serving jury duty. And they could turn around and indict you, even if the shooting is good. Say for, like I said, best case scenario, right? Guy was shooting
no
at us.
question that you are defending, right?
And the grand jury says, no, you know what? I think their actions were excessive. Indictment. They indict you. Now you're going to get arrested. They're going to take your gun and shield. And now you and I got to hire an attorney. And now we've got to either, 6 months or a year, 2 years from now, we're going to go on trial. Now we got to figure out, are we going to roll the dice with a jury or should we pick a bench trial, which means no jury, just a judge, hoping a judge, we get the right judge who's seen a million cases and goes, yeah, this is bullshit, this indictment, it's a good shooting. So anybody thinks for a second that with cops getting, I can speak for New York City Police Department. I don't know about how other departments and other jurisdictions roll, but I know New York, if you get involved in a shooting, it's no fucking joke. I mean, you're questioned on so many levels. They lock you into a statement immediately. I mean, there's no fucking around. It's not like like when they say, oh, they shot him and it's bullshit and they're covering it up. They will throw you to the fucking wolves in a second.
Well, and this is not something you're saying this has been always that way. It's not something new. This is
35. When I got hired 35 years ago, that's the way it was. And it's gotten worse.
Right. Meaning that it's even more scrutinized today.
Absolutely.
Wow.
With
I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I can't imagine anybody wants to, this is why I have had strong debates with people, where they say all cops are bad. And I'm like, there are some cops out there that are racist and there are some cops that are bad. I have encountered them. I had a cop, call a bunch of my friends the N-word and say, we're going to let those
I
people,
believe it.
And they exist. But
well, you got to realize something. New York City Police has 35 to 40,000 members.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Yankee Stadium on a Friday night.
That's
right?
a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to, unfortunately, you are going to get bad apples that get past the psychologicals, or they didn't come in like that. But New York will just grind you up and they come unglued. And like you said, will say stupid shit like that, or maybe become racist as a result of, listen, I grew up in the Bronx. I took a bus across town.
Whereabouts in the Bronx? I'm curious. Like where?
I grew up in Bronx Neck, and I went to high school in Parkchester.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So like we call that house area. you know.
It was the country. Yes, you're right. No, but they changed the zoning laws, and everybody with a big lot put a second house in their property. You know what I mean? Like, so there were vacant lots when I grew up in my neighborhood. And then what happened was everybody started building houses in big backyards. Like if somebody had a big backyard, they kind of ruined the neighborhood as far as got too crowded and fucked up parking and stuff.
You were a kid in the 70s?
Late 70s into the 80s, early 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a little further up, you know,
Yeah,
like
you're 10 years behind me.
Yeah, I was a teenager in the 90s. I was a kid in the 80s. You know, I'm a teenager in the 90s, and it was rough, man. It was rough. So you in your books, you share the stories of things you encountered while doing this work. I want to pick one of them up because is it like satire, humor type of thing?
Oh, they're
like,
humorous. Okay, I'll tell you a story from NYPD Law and Disorder, and you can totally picture this. So I'm working in the 50th precinct up in Riverdale. It's towards the end of the tour. Or you'll see, I do all these podcast interviews, and I talk about gypsy cabs and shit. Nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about. You're gonna love this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll get this.
My
right?
pops drove a gypsy cab for a while too.
So, okay, so like I tell these stories to a podcast guy in Louisiana. He doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. All right, you'll get this. So I'm up in the west part of the Bronx, right? We got a slew of gypsy cabs getting robbed, right? So a gypsy cab goes by us, and there's 3 kids in the back seat, and one of them's leaning over with his head next to the driver. So I go to my partner, make a fucking U-turn. I go, I think that cab's getting robbed, right? When we start following the cab, the kids in the back seat tell the cab driver, fucking go, we'll kill you. Just go.
Gun it.
So we're chasing this fucking gypsy cab, right? We pull them over. We run up to the back of the car. There's 3 Spanish kids in the back, and they're passing around a shopping bag. Just like a hot potato. There's a fucking bag rips open. There's 4 kilos of coke in the back seat. Ooh. Like, holy shit, right? Pull the kids out. They were young. They were like, I don't think anybody was over 22 years old. I mean, this is 30 years ago. Lock them up, bring them into the station house. The cab driver was shitting bricks, right? I'm parading around the station house with the kilos of coke like I won the fucking Stanley Cup, right? Yo, where'd you get this arrest? I'm taking photos. Everybody's telling me, you're going to narcotics. This is the greatest arrest in the world. Like, I'm pounding my chest, right? So the coke goes down to the lab. The bad guys go down to Bronx Central booking. And that night, I got to go and speak to a district attorney to write up these arrests. So, you know, 161st Street, where the courthouse is, after 5 o'clock, there's nothing open. There's nothing open. There's no restaurants, no nothing. But they had just opened up that food court across the street on 161. They opened up that little shopping center over there that used to be a vacant lot. So I'm like, perfect. I'm going to get something to eat across the street, and then I'm going to talk to a district attorney. It's about 9 o'clock at night. I go down in there. I get something to eat. I get spaghetti and meatballs. And I'm in the food court of this place across the street from the courthouse. And I'm eating, and I'm like just pumped up. And then my stomach goes. Like, oh shit, I got to take a fucking dump. Now the bathroom in the courthouse is a fucking dungeon. There's often no toilet paper, and everybody's taking a dump in there. It's disgusting. I'm like, oh wait, the food court. This place just opened like last week. I'll use their bathroom. Go into the food court. It's nice and clean, right? I go in there. I go into the stall. I take off my gun belt. I hang it on the hook on the bathroom door. I drop my pants, getting ready for liftoff. The front door of the bathroom kicks in, and there's 4 or 5 teenagers come in, and they're hitting the hand dryers. They're turning on the sink. They're beating the shit out of each other. They're fucking around. Bunch of teenage boys, right? Yeah, I'm a cop and I'm in uniform, but I got my fucking pants down to my ankle. So I go, you know what? I better hurry up.
You're very vulnerable.
I better hurry up and get the fuck out of here, right? Something told me to look up. I look up. One of the kids went into the stall next to me, jumped up on the toilet seat, and now he's hanging over, you know the Bronx, he's hanging over that stall, and he's trying to grab my gun belt. I go, oh my God. So I jump up with my left hand, I try to pull up my pants. With the right hand, I get him around the neck, and I pull him. Well, when I pull him towards me, I pull him towards my gun belt. He grabs onto my gun belt. I'm like, oh shit. Now I let go of my pants. Now my pants are down to my ankles, and it's a hockey fight. I'm punching him in the face. Let go of my gun belt. Let go of my gun belt, right? He drops the gun belt. His friends run into the next stall. They grab his legs. Dude, I'm on a tug of war with like a 120-pound teenager on, like those bathroom
Oh
partitions.
yeah, I know what you're
The
talking
fucking thing
about.
is bending and ripping out of the wall, right?
Jesus
He
Christ.
goes over the wall and the fucking wall collapses. I pull up my pants, I grab my gun belt, I hook it up, I go running out into the food court. They're fucking gone. They're gone. They ran out. They're gone. And I'm saying to myself, do I get on the radio? Do I call the 4-4? I'm like, wait a minute. What am I going to do? Call the police on myself? I will be the fucking laughing stock of the Bronx.
How
Every
would
cop
you?
in the Bronx are going to go, yo, you see that guy over there? He was taking his shit over in the food court, and these kids almost got his gun. So I kept that story to myself until I wrote I started getting into writing. So my books have embarrassing things that happen to me, funny stories, guys moving dead bodies to get out of work and overtime. There's all wild stories in there from my NYPD career.
That is crazy, man. That's the most vulnerable situation you could. You know what I mean? Like,
Never did that again.
Yeah, holy crap. Jesus. What would have happened if they took your belt? Like at that point, like from a legal standpoint, you haven't lost possession of that firearm and
There would have been a big fucking incident. Well, first of all, do I chase them? I didn't have a second gun.
All right.
Right? I don't even remember if I had my bulletproof vest on because I was down at court. You know what? I do remember having my vest on because I was sweating my ass off. I would have chased them. I would have rolled the dice with that one. They would have I mean, had they gotten arrested, they would have been in a lot of trouble. But, I'm just glad no one got hurt. No harm, no foul.
And they were just fucking around. Like these were just kids messing around. You don't think they were intent on hurting you?
I think they would have shot me. I think that they would have had a nice prize for themselves.
Right. Wow. That is wild, man. I mean, you got to be really reckless to, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess that's just when you're young, you're just stupid. Because, I used to ride in the back of the bus, like.
Because that does take balls. And I often wonder about that. Like, are they dead? Did they turn their lives around, or they keep doing stupid shit until you know how it works? You keep doing stupid shit, you keep raising that bar, and then you're done. You go and do something so crazy, home invasion, you pull a gun on a guy, he's got a gun, next thing you know, you kill the guy. Right. So
you look in the wrong stall. You know what I mean?
From your neighborhood, bro.
You look in the wrong stall with the wrong guy in there who has his gun in his pants, and you lose your head. Yeah, no, I was watching this thing yesterday about the toughest prisons. Netflix with, I think, is Raphael Rowe, and so the latest episode, the guy asks him, "Do I belong here for life?" On the last episode where he was in Moldova, and I was thinking about that because I've always struggled with that. Like I've always felt like if you kill someone, then your life should be over, and this guy said, he told Raphael he killed a niece and a grandmother, women choked, so Raphael needed to step out of the cell, and he had to think. He has I've been with this guy a week, and nice guy, very cool, until he told me what he did. And now I don't know how I feel, whether he should ever be able to get out of here. That's something that I always have struggled with myself, like the death penalty. And so like you have these kids, they're fucking around. Maybe they're not bad kids. Right. Maybe they're just stupid. Like that one day.
I get it.
I mean, that's not the same as killing a grandmother and a niece, but imagine if they would have gotten away with your firearm, and they're doing a prank to them. They're just trying to be cute and funny. This could have some serious repercussions to lives, Absolutely. Yeah, that is, I mean, we did stupid stuff when we were kids, and some of it,
we all did. Yeah, me too.
You think back and it's like, oh my God, how did I?
Luck.
I'm
looking out for you, one or the other, and or both.
Yeah. And today, my son teases me. He says I got no swag. That I'm, because I'm taking pictures like, like this, like, hey guys, where he has no idea what it was like back then. You become this like older geeky guy and stuff. But so I don't know that I could that I could hack that today, you know.
I hear you.
Wow. Well, listen, I'll tell everybody where they can get your books. We know it's on Amazon, and anything you want to share with them as far as social media and
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Vic Ferrari. I've written. Can I just show my books?
of course. Yeah.
So my last NYPD book is NYPD Law and Disorder. That opens up with a chapter called Embarrassing Moments. That was me taking a dump on the bowl. And we got, you like this one, Grand Theft Auto, the NYPD's auto crime division. It's everything you wanted to know about chop shops, stolen cars, a car thief's mindset, what happens to your car after it gets stolen. We got the NYPD's Flying Circus, Cops, Crime, and Chaos. There's a lot of embarrassing stories that happen to NYPD members, including a guy I knew who stole a horse and carriage for a ride through Central Park, and the horse took off because he didn't know how to control the horse.
Oh my
And then you
God.
got NYPD Through the Looking Glass, stories from inside America's largest police department. That's got a lot of funny stories, including a cop that went out one night and he safeguarded his gun in his oven, came back 4 hours, 9 beers later, and preheated his oven to 425 to make him a
Oh
snack. And the
God.
gun went off in the stove and started shooting rounds at him. He had to
Holy
crawl out of his fucking apartment with his gun shooting at him and call for emergency service.
Oh my God. That is crazy, man.
All my books are on Amazon. Well, they're all paperback. Just go to Amazon Books, type in Vic Ferrari, like the car, and they're $10 and $2.99 ebook download. And on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Vic Ferrari 50.
Awesome. Dude, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Appreciate the opportunity to have me on your show.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was a good time.
Yeah, anytime you want to have me back or you read one of my books, you're like, listen, I got to ask you about this. I'll come back.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, and we'll be in touch, man. I'm definitely gonna pick up the books. I love satire. One of my favorite authors is
They're very, yeah, no, they're written with a comedic flair.
Yeah, I love to read books like that. As soon as I was looking through on Amazon and seeing the covers and even like Law and Disorder, the names, like I immediately thought like I have to read this stuff because I think it's gonna be in line with what I like to read. I don't know if you ever read Carl Hyacin. He's from Florida now. He's a hilarious satirical writer. Primarily covers Florida life. The
What's his name?
Carl Hyacin. Hiaasen, or some variation thereof, Carl Hyacin. And there's another guy called Christopher Moore. So reading Carl Hyacin got me to want more of that type of reading, which led me to Christopher Moore. Hilarious authors.
I like that too. That's kind of my wheelhouse. And all my, like I said, I take no prisoners in my books. I don't name names. I change names, dates, locations, ranks. Because when I got into writing, I said I don't want to get anybody divorced or in trouble.
Of course.
So I don't say, "Hey, Angel Hernandez" or Vic Ferrari. I just, but I will refer to them in a sarcastic way or give them a nickname, like One Way Ray was a guy, One Way Ray was a guy that only did things for himself. When there was a roast beef Ray, all he ate was fucking roast beef sandwiches all the time. So like I give them,
identifiers. Yeah. Cool, man. Awesome. All right, brother. It's been great chatting with you, and we'll be in touch, man.
Have a good week, Angel. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care.
You are listening to the NYC Talking podcast. www.nyctalking.com. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. Please follow Angel R Talk on Twitter and Instagram. We are NYC Talking, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Thanks for listening.